We picture the perfect day, the pristine white dress, the glowing bridal party, the slow walk down the aisle. Society frames this moment as the ultimate expression of timeless romance. But beneath that glossy surface is a much harsher reality. Almost every tradition performed at the altar today is a relic of ancient fear, survival tactics, and strict legal transactions. To understand what a marriage actually is, we have to look back at the specific origins that continue to dictate how we stand at the altar today. Strip away the flowers and the music, and the ceremony reveals itself as a deeply embedded blueprint of human survival and societal engineering. Look at the people standing beside the couple. Historically, bridesmaids and groomsmen were not chosen for their emotional support. In ancient Rome, bridesmaids were required by law to dress identically to the bride. They functioned as literal decoys, positioned to confuse evil spirits or rival tribes plotting a mid-ceremony attack. The groomsmen served a similarly violent purpose. The original best man in Germanic tribes was a professional swordsman, the most capable fighter available, hired to fend off the bride's family after the groom kidnapped her. The bride's veil originated in Rome as the flammeum, a thick, fire-red shield designed to terrify demons thought to be drawn to moments of human joy. Even the iconic white dress has little to do with purity. When Queen Victoria wore one in 1840, it was an aggressive display of wealth. In an era where white fabric was nearly impossible to clean, wearing it proved you were rich enough to buy a garment you would only wear once. The classic presentation of a wedding party was a military defense mechanism paired with a display of extreme economic power. The physical positioning of the couple at the altar follows this logic. The groom stands on the right side, so his sword hand remains free to strike anyone who might attempt to disrupt the ceremony. When a father gives the bride away, he is performing a ritual that began as the formal, legal transfer of property and dowry from a patriarch to a new owner. Even the words exchanged hold a deadly literal weight. Promising to stay together in sickness and in health was written during the medieval plague, when illness meant a rapid, agonizing end. These precise vows were codified into property law by Thomas Cranmer in his 1549 Book of Common Prayer. Today, millions of people continue to repeat these 16th century legal terms, fulfilling the requirements of a contract written for a different world. And the final kiss to seal the marriage? That comes from a Roman legal mechanism, where a physical kiss was the official, binding way to finalize a contract. The entire ceremony, stripped of its modern sentiment, functioned as a strict, militaristic property transfer rather than a spiritual blessing. The survival tactics continue even after the couple exits the building. The tradition of throwing the bouquet started because medieval mobs believed a piece of the bride's dress brought good luck. She would strategically toss her flowers to distract the growing crowd so they wouldn't literally tear her clothes off. Later that night, the groom carries the bride over the threshold to prevent her from tripping, a moment ancient societies believed would release evil spirits lurking beneath the floorboards. Then they leave for the honeymoon. The word itself traces back to the aftermath of a bride kidnapping. A kidnapper would hide his stolen bride for one full cycle of the moon, drinking mead, a fermented honey wine, until her family eventually abandoned their search. Honey and moon. All those joyful celebrations following a wedding are sanitized echoes of mob evasion, intense superstition, and physical abduction. Over centuries, the church worked to absorb these pagan rituals, and the 18th century Romantic movement slowly layered the concept of a love match over the existing legal framework. In the modern era, corporate marketing reinforced that romantic narrative, turning the ancient requirement for security into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yet, despite these dark origins, the persistence of these traditions proves an undeniable human need to make a public declaration of commitment. Today, that legal property transfer has evolved into a voluntary merger. Two independent people agree to surrender their individual autonomy to form a single unified entity. These rituals endured because they provided a predictable framework for inheritance and lineage through centuries of chaos. Society relied on these clear, public declarations to keep its internal structures stable across generations. Every time a couple says, "I do," They are locking themselves into an unbroken, ancient chain of human survival and connection.